Up front today, where in the world? Religious liberty in the United Kingdom and the right to choose your faith without facing persecution. Member of Parliament Martin Day has received approval to push for House debate at Westminster on combating anti-apostasy. As you may know, the UK has tough hate speech laws, and police have arrested evangelists for preaching on the street against homosexuality. So as the British government pushes forward against so-called hate speech and hate crimes, Mr. Day is pushing forward against apostasy hatred. Often when Muslims and others immigrate to the UK and then come to faith in Christ, they're ostracized and even physically attacked by family members, friends, and neighbors. Now, the British Pakistani Christians organization has documented many of these anti-apostasy crimes in the UK, and its chairman, Wilson Chowdhry, says something must be done by the British government to stop this from happening. He joins us now via Skype from London. Wilson, thanks so much for joining us. So how bad is it in the UK? You'd think those who convert to Christianity wouldn't face the same persecution that they experience back at home in their home countries like Pakistan. Well, what's happening there?
It's extremely difficult for those who choose to leave the Islamic faith. In particular, I can share two case studies. One was Faisal Bashir, a man who lived behind at the BPCA offices. We actually are next door to a mosque. This man was told by police that they couldn't help him. Every night he was being threatened. His wife and children were insulted, spat at. His vehicle was being vandalized. More to the point as well, he was told, he was often rung in the middle of the night by people telling him that Sharia police were coming to arrest him and that he would be put away, believing that he was going to be kidnapped, beaten and potentially killed. But then we have Nisa Hussain, a man who for 17 years has suffered extreme persecution in Britain. At least 6 times a year his car would be smashed to pieces and burnt. He would have fireworks thrown at his home. He was beaten to a pulp by 2 men with pickaxe handles in November 2015.
Why do you need another law?
Well, we don't need another law. We need a reform.
Is it re-educating the police then?
Well, it's a number of things. Firstly, we have to classify apostasy hatred in the Race and Religious Hatred Act so it can be utilised properly to protect apostates. And as soon as they register a complaint, it's recognised as apostasy hatred and not a hatred against Christians. The police were saying that other Christians aren't being persecuted, so why is Nisa making these stories up? It must simply be a neighbourhood dispute. Secondly, yes, we need to provide training. So policing protocol will need to change, policing policy will need to change, but also government policy towards how apostates are treated. There was no counselling, there was absolutely no charities equipped at that point in time to assist apostates, because it's very hard to distinguish exactly how many apostates exist in this country. So there are no resources set aside to assist them.
And when do you expect debate on this to begin?
Well, we're hoping to bump up our existing report sometime in the next 2 months or so.
How concerned should Americans be, and what can we do about this?
Well, Islam does seem to be growing in both Western nations, both America and Britain. And so things that happen here will definitely mirror themselves in America at some point in time. So yes, there is a need to be alert about this and to understand the underlying principle behind the hatred that comes out. I mean, in particular, I think I should read from a hadith. Now, a hadith is one of the religious books. It's the words of the prophets or the prophet's associates, and often is regarded to have equal status or equal authority to the Quran itself. And Bukhari in Hadith 984.57 said, the Prophet said, whoever changes his Islamic religion, then kill him. Now, there are 2 studies here in Britain referring to the number of apostates from Islam to Christianity or atheism or other secular faiths, or no faith. And they're suggesting that 350 people every year are seeking counselling from a group called the Council of Ex-Muslims in Britain. That's a significant figure. However, the Quillen Foundation, a Muslim NGO, stated that 100,000 people are converted to Islam every year in Britain, but at least 50% of them become apostates within the first year, a further 25% within preceding years. Now, if you consider that, that would suggest that there possibly are hundreds of thousands of apostates in this country.